these out of the way. And then I'm just going to cut it the other direction. You know, however you want to cut it. I'm losing a lot of my stuff in my sink here. However, if you want to chop them up small, you can chop them up small. If you want to chop them up, or if you want to leave them in the rings, you can leave them in the rings. However you like to cook with them. So that's 2 onions. Going for number 3. I'm going to cut off this little top curlicue part. And see, now that leaf came off real simple. We got a little bit of a bad patch right there. Now my eyes were starting to get a little teary-eyed. Somebody told me you were supposed to bite down on something, lemon or something, but I don't remember what it was. So we're going to try to do this real quick. Now again, see, I kind of got down to the bottom there, so I can just whack around the corner, and then there's that little root end. And we're just going to, this little chef knife works really good. But now you want to be careful to watch your fingertips. Now the chefs on the TV, they put their little knuckles back, but so far I haven't been able to figure out how to do that. I'm working on it. But by using my gloves, that kind of helps protect my fingers as well. As long as you're not, doing any heavy whacking like that. If you take it slow and gently, you can prevent yourself from getting cut. Okay, we're down to the last onion. And you can use Vidalia onions, Spanish onions, yellow onions, red onions, white onions, purple onions. And just do this the same way. Like I said, I happen to like Vidalia onions, and we're down here in the south. We're in northeast Florida. So if I find Vidalia islands out of Georgia, I typically try to get those. And you can cut these up pretty simply. Nothing has to be perfect. And if you have some kind of fancy chopping equipment, like the chopper thing that guy on the TV sells, here's that little root again, or a mandolin that you got at someplace. But I just find it easier and quicker to just use a knife and a cutting board. You can use a serrated knife, you can use a chef knife, you can just use a plain old knife. You can use I use a bamboo cutting board, you can use a plastic cutting board. You can use a glass cutting board, whatever you have on hand. You don't have to buy a lot of this special equipment that they advertise. I know it's great to have it. In fact, I think I have one of those mandolin things under the counter there. It's never been out of the box. Because then you got to take it apart, you got to clean it, and it's, here I just have my cutting board and my knife to cut. Okay. Now, however you like to cook, you can either put this into a big Ziploc bag and then just freeze it all at one time. I'll take this little piece out. And you see you've got a whole big bowl of chopped onions. And you could just put this in one big Ziploc bag like we did the peppers. But I think since this is a smaller batch than the peppers, we're going to use these little quart size. Now you've got to use the freezer Ziploc bags. Don't use the little thin sandwich bags. And I use the Sharpie pen because it writes on plastic. So we're going to put onion and today's date. And that way I can either just take out the whole little bag and throw it into my dish, whether I'm making ground beef or chicken, or I can just pull out a few tidbits at a time. If I'm making some fish And I've got some of my fresh herbs from my garden and patio garden out back. And I just want maybe this many onions, because I don't want my fish real oniony, but I want it a little tasty. So I'll just take out this much. So you can take out however much. If you like a whole lot of onions and you're making like a 3 pound ground meat of, say, ground turkey, then you might use the whole bag. Now if you notice, I'm going to turn this Ziploc bag in with the edges turned out like that, like a hem on a skirt, because I don't want any of the onions or juices to fall into those little seams, because then you don't get a good seal. I'm going to try to divide this bowl up evenly between these two Ziploc bags, because then they won't take up too much room in the freezer, and I can use it like a measurement. And say, for instance, I'm going to make a 3 pound package of ground turkey. Well, I might use this whole bag. But if I'm just making 2 fish fillets for dinner for my husband and myself, well then I might just want to pull out a few pieces. Now, this looks like they're about even. But now what we're going to do is, first off, we're going to try to get as much air out of this as we can. Squeeze it out. And then we're going to flatten it. And see how I'm doing this? I'm just kind of flattening it out. That is to save room, because I used to freeze and I would just stick it in like this. Well, then that's about the size of a softball. Well, all of a sudden I had all these softballs in my freezer and I couldn't fit anything else in because there was so much wasted space around the air of the package. So then, I don't know if I saw this on TV or what, but I started just flattening them out. Maybe it came to me in a dream or something. But anyway, you can try to get some more of the air out. All right. I think we got all the air out. Now see, we have onion and the date. Now you have to freeze them flat in the freezer to get them hard and frozen. But once you do, you can either stack them like I have these stacked up, or you can like put them like this. It depends on the configuration of your freezer. But you have 2 pre-packaged, so it's good if you have a few minutes, say 15 minutes after you come home from the grocery store, or within the first 2 or 3 days after you come back from a grocery store and you have a big bulk item. Cut it up and put it in. That way when you're ready to cook dinner at night, you're in a hurry and you've come home from work and the kids are crying and they come home from school and your husband's come home from work and everybody's tired and everybody's hungry and they want something to eat, and you already have maybe some ground meat in the refrigerator or turkey or chicken breasts or something, but you just want to put some onions in it. You don't have to say, oh gosh, now I've got to cut up the onions, because they're already cut up. So I think that's enough for today, and catch us on our next video. And again, you can look for us on lottida.com, and when you make your meals, they'll be mighty tasty with all of your new cut up, fresh prepared vegetables. Bye now.